Howdy, Immortalim here. Today I'm reviewing a series called Shikabane Hime, or Corpse Princess in English. Now, what is my opinion of Shikabane Hime? First of all, I didn't like it. Now, is it awful? Not quite, but I'll get into that in more detail later. So, first of all, what is the premise of the series? Well, the premise of the series is that we're introduced to this kid, Ori Kagami, who's an orphan. He lives at an orphanage, obviously, but he has a brother who adopted him, a Buddhist monk called Keisei, and every so often Ori kind of notices that Keisei comes back. He's all kind of battered up, his bruises, cuts, etc., etc., and he's kind of wondering, what's happening to Keisei. Now, at the same time, we're introduced to this girl here, Makina Hoshimura. Now, Makina, if you haven't guessed right by now, she's a Shikabane Hime, and basically what that is, it's a Shikabane, or someone who comes back from the dead and tries to kill people. Now, what a Shikabane Hime is a Shikabane who is linked with a contracted monk, and basically the monk supplies them with power and supports them in battle. They kill Shikabane, and if they manage to kill 108 Shikabane, then the Shikabane Hime will go to heaven. And that is the premise of the series. Now, from a technical point of view, this series is actually pretty good. If you're not already aware, this was animated by Gainax. Now, if you're not familiar with who Gainax are, they've done Neon Genesis Evangelion, they've done Gurren Lagann, they've done Furikuri, they've done Panty Stocking. The list goes on. So they've made a good few anime series. And from a technical point of view, this series is great. It has strong music, with like lots of kind of awesome action sequence music, fast beats, the kind of creepy music when they're walking into, hallways and, buildings and etc. etc. Awesome opening as well, and also the animation. The animation is really good. The art style is very nice, very appealing. It's bloody, as one would expect, but manages to do it in a fashion that is also kind of visually appealing. The animation, while it can be iffy at points, there's a few kind of, jerky moments that you might notice that, is obviously cost-cutting moments, measures. But besides that, this is a great series from a technical point of view, along with a good English dub, in fairness. It's not brilliant English dub. It's made by Funimation again. But the three lead characters are basically they're voiced by Aaron Dismuke, Lucy Christian, and J. Michael Tatum, and they all give great performances in this. But the place where this series really falls down in is the plot. Of course, when one comes into something called Shikabane Hime, or Corpse Princess, with this kind of picture on the front, you're kind of thinking to yourself, does it have a plot? Yes, it does. Unfortunately. Basically, the reason I laughed there was this series actually wasn't that bad at the beginning. Basically, it opens up kind of a series of kind of standalone episodes, just introducing the characters, introducing the premise, and they're not brilliant, but they're fun. You have Makina, completely annihilating Shikabane. You have, the very nice animation. So, first few episodes are actually pretty good. Then they introduce the plot. And the plot is... the way I kind of view, where they went wrong with this, they reached too far. They kind of just... They said to themselves, this series isn't going to do well unless, we kind of really kind of make a plot. And a big plot at that. And the way I view it is that it imploded in on itself. Basically, as the series progresses, this plot gets more and more thick. It gets, much more kind of characters are introduced and they're never properly developed. Plot threads are started but never tied up. All culminating in one of the worst anime endings I have seen, which is literally like a to be continued screen, followed by a bonus episode, which then has the end, which isn't an ending at all. I don't know who Gainax thought that would be a good ending, but it isn't a good ending. But I also have to, like, earlier in the show, I knew that this show was going to be a bit awkward, and I did not know that from the plot at that point, early on in the show. What I noticed was the characters. Now, at the beginning, you're not going to take too much notice of the characters, because they kind of start out a little cliche. You have to start off with Ori Kagami, who is the kind of standard, I wouldn't call him a nerd, but he's certainly no jock. Basically, he's weak, he's wimpy, he kind of whines a lot. Actually, kind of like Shinji, now that I think about it. But without any of Shinji's depth. Then we have Makina, who is just completely, annoying as hell. If Ori is bland as a character, then Makina is annoying. Why do I find her annoying? Because of the fact that she's so obsessive. She obsesses about, like, these minor stuff. When I say minor stuff, I mean, like, she like, think about, a certain plot thread is started late into season 1 of this series. If you're not already aware, this contains both seasons, 2 13-episode series. And it's introduced, she obsesses over it, but she acts so utterly hostile to everyone else, it doesn't make any sense. She's, I know she's dead, so she can't, her brain isn't going to be in the best of health, but she should at least use her brain and realise the fact that, the plot thread has started, she can't do anything about it, really, so she should just cop on, move on, and, just get on with her, can you say life? I guess you can. Get on with her life. And then, Keisei isn't a bad character. He's kind of, he's like an otaku monk in a sense. He's mad into, the moe girls, he's mad into, all that kind of stuff. A bit of a perv. And he's not annoying, he's not great, he's just okay. He's certainly better than the other 2 lead characters. So, that's my analysis of the characters. There are many other characters introduced. Many. Lots of characters. And very few of them are good, if at all. And so many of them are introduced, they seem like they have a purpose, and then they just don't have any, development done on them. Now, there was a character introduced at the beginning of season 2 of this series, and called Flesh. And I must admit, she is one of my least favourite characters in this series. She's basically a Shikabane Hime, who is, crazy otaku. Massively otaku. But I hated her. Do you know why? Because she was annoying, she butted in, she was unhelpful, she tried, the character of her was trying to be humorous, and it just, it wasn't working at all. So she just came off as annoying as hell. So, you're not going to be watching this series for characters or plot. And as I said before, as the series progresses, the plot gets even more in your face. So by the end of, by the last half of season 2, you're not going to be able to ignore the plot anymore. It becomes a complete and utter mess. Which is why there's something interesting about this series, in that it can be analysed so easily. This is a show that kind of shows you, the worst way to make an anime. They introduced so many elements in order to try to gather as many kind of people of the otaku market as they possibly could. But because of that, it's devolved into some, gooey mess, which, crappy story ending up with it. Now, as I said before, it's not awful. The action sequences are cool when they're present. The music is great. The cast is great as well. The voice cast, not the actual cast of characters, because they're not great. Basically, anything that's technical about the show is actually very good. But story, not so much. I think that's it. I don't really have too much to say about this. As you can guess, I didn't like this. I have heard of people actually liking this show. So just because I don't like it, doesn't mean that you will not like it. Although I highly doubt you'll like it. It's relatively cheap now. You can get it for about £10 on Amazon. But, even for me personally, I just think it's a waste of money if you're going to spend that. So, yeah, that's it. So in the end, it's a show that had way too much ambition. It collapsed in on itself, and in the end, you know, it just, it's not a good show, and it shows everything that's wrong with anime right now, in my personal opinion. Just, you know, going for as many target audiences as possible, not nailing down, you know, like a particular, you know, style. You know, quite often it, you know, goes between comedy and action and horror, and it's a complete mess. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and bye-bye.